Hi everybody, Pete Cook here again, and the problem that we're going to solve today is called the snowflake problem. Now most people have never heard of this, but it's a huge problem that is literally holding back the whole of science. So let me explain the snowflake problem to you. In science, we would expect, logically, that underneath every action that we see is a cause. A logical cause that explains the behaviour. Now most people think we've already got that, but we haven't. And in fact, we've never had it. So here it is showing up as a snowflake. Now a snowflake is a beautiful pattern, and underneath that pattern should be a logical cause from science. Now underneath the snowflake there's physics. What we assume are the laws that make everything physical happen. But it doesn't work. I'm going to answer the problem, but we have a very good way of dealing with big problems as people. We ignore them. But I'm going to read to you from this particle physics book. And once somebody tells you the problem, we can't ignore it any longer. Molecules of water are free to take up any direction within a warm liquid. But once frozen, they form beautiful structures as exhibited by snowflakes. A pattern emerges in the cold even though the underlying laws showed no prejudice for one direction over another. The underlying laws showed no prejudice for one direction over another. That sentence undermines the whole credibility of science today. The underlying laws showed no prejudice for one direction over another. The laws of physics are just the glue. The pattern has no underlying cause. That is the snowflake problem. And it's not just water molecules, it's every molecule. So you can't go to the chemistry department and use the laws from the physics department to explain what you see. That undermines the whole credibility of every university. It's not just the chemistry department. You certainly can't go to the biology department and explain DNA or the contents of a cell from the physics. So that's a really big problem. And it's not just at the atomic level we get this problem. If we look at the gravitational level, and I look at the beautiful patterns of rings around Saturn, those patterns, just like the snowflake, are not explained by the underlying laws. So there's something wrong. And there's something wrong with the way that we are looking at it. Because the underlying law of gravity isn't really a law at all. It just says that bodies attract. But what's the cause? You can't just have a law that says bodies attract. And there's nothing physical about space. So how does the Earth move the moon across nothing physical? It's like me trying to move a table across a room. I can't. And now Einstein helped out when he said that space is related to matter. And they both change into mathematical structures, spheres for matter, and beautiful curves in space. But he still hasn't answered the problem. What's the cause? Well, there is a cause. And that cause is called the economic universe. In every field of science, what we find is something called the principle of least action. Whatever happens always uses the least amount of energy. And the curves in space produced by gravity give you a path which is the shortest path from A to B. there's an underlying cause which is universal. The underlying cause of gravity is geometry. It's a mathematical rule, and that also applies to magnetic fields and electrical fields. The underlying cause is mathematical. It's geometry. We've got the same problem with quantum mechanics. There are no forces or fields in quantum mechanics. It's just rules that says an electron will sit here, here, and here. But why? Where's the cause? The underlying cause comes from prime number theorem. The underlying cause is mathematical. It's arithmetic. So we have underlying causes which are geometric for fields in space. The underlying cause for quantum mechanics, which is arithmetic. And then we get complex behavior. When I get groups of particles, the underlying laws for molecules is called group mathematics. You've solved the snowflake problem. The underlying laws that make the snowflake are mathematical rules called group mathematics. Underneath those, that just stick it together, are geometric rules for fields in space, which are very, very simple and just act as the glue. So physics isn't the underlying set of rules that cause the behavior in the universe. And anything complex, 3 equal-sized bodies in space, are completely chaotic. And we can't use the completely deterministic rules of gravity to explain chaotic behavior. That's another set of mathematical rules which sit in this book. And anything complex, self-organizing systems in nature have their own set of mathematical rules. So that solves the biggest problem in science, a problem we've had since the time of Newton that's been holding the whole of science back for 400 years. We haven't had the correct set of underlying mathematical rules which describe the effects in physics, chemistry, biology, and our own behavior. Game theory. Now, if you'd like to know more about this, we're going to put an email address underneath, and we'll send you a paper which goes into great detail and explains the answer to the snowflake problem. And because we've been hiding this problem from all the students and people at universities and professors who still get it wrong, it's about time that we made it public. And that's up to you. See you next time. Bye now.